This is what a lot of content creators struggle with. When times get quiet, that's when they decide to quit. But no, that's not what we're doing today. We're building even when it's quiet. Nobody's watching. Great. That's fine. The thing that we need to focus on, regardless of which social media platform we find ourselves on in 2025, is you're posting, sometimes nobody's clapping, right? And you're building and nobody's asking, like, what are you building? And we equate that with failure. But it's really not failure. It's what I like to call the filter, right? So this is the thing where you're actually determining your audience. You're trying to find out, like, as you're building, who is going with you on this journey, who's going to collaborate with you, who's going to connect with you in your community, right? So don't look at it as failure. It's really a filter. The people who are supposed to be with you on this journey, they're going to stick with you, they're going to join your community, right? So we're going to talk about building even when it's quiet, because a lot of us, especially when you're on these different platforms, you may see your numbers or your views may be really low, but you're really giving yourself the opportunity for people to learn about who you are, right? So it takes time to build that community. And I like to say that, the silence that you're experiencing is really the signal, right? And this is why I'm telling you, do not quit during these quiet seasons, during this quiet time. Because again, it's filtering out the tourists, right? The people, you ever notice when you're on social media? So I'm on all different social medias, right? I'm Instagram, TikTok, right? And here on YouTube as well. And it's like sometimes you're like, okay, well, who are the quote unquote looky loos, right? We have someone in my team, that talks about the looky loos or the window shoppers, right? Um, you always kind of find those, right? So it's okay. They're just looking, they're trying to find out, is this a good fit for them, right? So it's like you're dating, right? It's like the dating scene, or maybe that job or career. You've done the interview and you're trying to find out, like, is this a good fit? So it's the same concept here, right? So if you're still posting, you're already ahead, and I think that's what happens to a lot of people, right? They get to that point where, like, well, nobody's looking, so why am I going to keep posting, right? I'm done posting. So that's what ends up happening, right? So, but the quiet phase is where clarity lives. And if you guys have ever heard me talk about anything on any social media platform, I love that word clarity, right? Because now it gives you that opportunity to develop your audience, to develop your skills as well, right? During those quiet times. So consider that as well. So I want to talk to us about reusing, remixing, and reloading, right? So a lot of what I've been focusing on lately is long form content, right? Not long term content, but long form content. And so this gives me an opportunity to take those things that maybe I'm doing a live on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram. I can take that information from the long form content and use different platforms like Adobe Express, right? To create shorts or clips of the content that you've created already, right? You spend all that time. Why do we need to now, spend more time creating more content when we already have the content existing in our profile, in our portfolio, essentially, right? So there's so many different things that we can do. We don't need any new ideas. We can actually just take things at a different angle. So like this long form content that I'm creating here, that's going to be posted on my YouTube. I'm going to now take that long form content, and I'm going to create clips or shorts to be able to post that, on all my socials, right? So that's it. And sometimes it's just taking those snippets, maybe changing the topic, right? Maybe adding a punch to it, right? Like, people are not going to remember what you posted yesterday, right? And so that's really why we need to repurpose, reuse, and reload and remix and do all those things, because yeah, they may have seen, some people may have seen that content, but all the millions of people on social media did not see that content, right? So keep that in mind as well. I always like to joke about, the echo chamber is loud. especially for people who are, and I talk about, personalities and neurodivergence and all this stuff, right? But it's like some people have that echo chamber where they have it in their mind like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they just they go into places where they can keep hearing that information regurgitated to them, right? So why not kind of flip the script on that, right? Not saying to become a narcissist or anything like that, or create an echo chamber that is not healthy, but don't wait for the feedback, right? Manufacture that feedback yourself. How do you do that? You're gonna ask questions, you're gonna put comments, you're gonna pin comments within your content, right? And you're not talking to yourself, you're building the room. So it's going to take time for this to happen, because as people start to recognize you, or as you start to get more exposure, that's when the people are going to come in, your community is going to be built, and you all are going to be speaking that same language, because there's that frequency that attracts, right? And I'm all about energy as well. So if the energy is there, they will come into your room, and they will come into the community and help you build whatever it is that you're trying to build in that community. Right? You wanna make sure that you have your anchor statement. So this is essentially your hook, right? You hear people talk about, "Oh, you need to hook them within the first 3 seconds," right? So a lot of times what ends up happening is we give the full story away at the beginning, right? Instead of just giving them the opportunity to, number 1, either watch your content all the way through, so that way your watch time begins to improve, right? Tease the payoff. Don't just give it all at once, right? So there's different ways to do this. And I'll give you a real time example, right? Like, there's 4 things that you need to do to go viral on the social media, right? And the 4th one is the most important. So now that gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, this something is happening. I need to stick around to get, the full details towards the end, because if I miss a step, or if I miss some information, then I'm not going to go viral, right? So you say less up front, and you make people lean into what you have to offer, and then you deliver something that hits at the end, right? So that's your hook. You're giving them something to look forward to. They're going to watch the content all the way through. And then at the end, make sure you're actually delivering something that's tangible, that they can use, that they can put as something that is actionable. And here it is, my word clarity again, right? So clarity over clout. A lot of times content creators feel like, oh my God, I gotta do the biggest trends, and I gotta do all these things, right? Even if you plan to do that, make sure that there is a system or a blueprint, something that's going to help you align, from the time that you put your caption to your hook to what you're delivering as your call to action, right? So we got to keep those things in mind. Something that earns in silence, right? So even as you're building right now, you want to have something that builds clarity, right? And that's what's going to convert. People want to know exactly what you're about. They don't want to have to second guess or guess, like, okay, well, what content is this am I going to see once I'm seeing this hook, right? Or once I'm exploring, this person's content or community, right? They need to know what you're going to actually deliver, so that way they can be converted into becoming someone who will be a part of your community and help you build that community as well. And so your call to action, or my call to action, is just to remember that you're not stuck, right? You're just early, because who knows how long TikTok is going to be around, or YouTube or Instagram, right? Like they've been around for so many years. Maybe you're just starting off on your journey, right? You're just early. So give yourself some time, give yourself some grace to build your community, right? Post it anyway. It doesn't matter if they're watching right now, right? You may post some content today, in October of 2025, and then in October 2026 you go viral, right? Because your content is still going to be there, and it's still discoverable, right? So post it anyway, right? Remix it louder, start your own loop. Just build even when it's quiet, right? That is really the crux of the matter, is just make sure you are being consistent, and just continue to build, regardless if it's quiet, if it's loud. Just continue to build, right? So if you're not following me on my socials, if you look for me, I am at Dr. Rayon Walton on just about all socials. There's also links in my bios as well. So catch you in the next one.